everybody. We just left work and we're heading to our customer of the evening. So he's got two vehicles, one pickup truck which he wants clear on, and another one is I think it's a Honda CR-V. He wants black. So the mechanic had told him that it was starting to get a little crusty underneath, and that if he wants to keep it, which he does, that he should undercoat it. So all the black is, it's got a dye in it, just makes everything a little more uniform underneath. There's really nothing different about it other than that. So I did hear though, yesterday or today, that New Hampshire is thinking of getting rid of their state inspection for vehicles. So I'm sure some of you don't have state inspections where you live. Basically every year we have to get our vehicles tested on emissions and a safety inspection. And one of the safety things that they look at is they look for rust. So if a vehicle's got too much rust or rust in the wrong spots, it'll fail. So I'm not worried about that though with this business at all. The people that are getting undercoating, sure, maybe some of them are, but I would say 99% of the people that are getting undercoating are not getting undercoating because of state inspection. They're getting undercoating because they want the value of their vehicle to stay the same and not depreciate so quickly. So, you know, if you've got a vehicle where, you know, certain vehicles after a certain amount of years, you know, in New England, they're trash, and then you find one where it's been undercoated and it's that same vehicle, same year, same miles, but there's no rust on it because it's been undercoated, it's obviously worth substantially more than the other ones. You know, also, I'd rather replace parts on a vehicle where when you go to bolt them up to wherever they go, there's actually still metal there. So, you know, you've got a rusty vehicle and you go to replace a control arm and the frame itself is falling apart there. Sure, you can put a new control arm on it, but you know, you're really not bolting to anything. So I'm not worried about that at all. But we are almost there, so I will turn the camera back on when we get there. See you in a second. All right, guys, we are here at the customer's house. This is what we're doing to make sure it doesn't rust. is this? This looks like this. I don't know how that got over there. Oh, it's broken. All right, I'll let them know about that. I do like to do on the metal gas doors. A lot of the newer cars, these are plastic, but the metal ones, I'm gonna spray this piece, and like behind here, I'm not gonna spray this outer section. That way, if you do touch it, you're not getting all over yourself. So make sure there's not much in the line here, and I'll actually do with these. There's no reason for drain holes to be small. When drain holes are small, all it does is all the stuff that drains through the door, the pine needles and water and stuff, it's clogged up. When they're nice and big, the stuff just falls right out. So all the time I come to customers' vehicles and they'll have these little drain holes. They come with plugs from the factory that have the littlest hole to let water out, and I pull the plug out, and they're full of pine needles and, you know, just the little helicopter things and a whole bunch of just random stuff. So as you can tell, this vehicle is not new at all, and these doors are still pretty clean, and it's got these big drain holes, and there's nothing blocking here. There's no stuff in here, so that's awesome. Because, like I said, this vehicle is getting black. The only thing I do on the ground for the black is the wheel wells. Everything else is, you know, once we get above there. So we're looking into this thing, and it's actually not terrible, but the mechanic was right. This is at a point where if you wanted to keep this thing, you should stop this rust now. I shut the generator off, which shuts off a lot of my lights, but I still have these 12-volt ones, so you guys can kind of see still. But we are going to be letting him know that his input seal here on his rear differential is definitely leaking. I like to let people know stuff that's leaking before I spray it with oil, because we're going to be dropping this plastic cover. We'll be pulling out the plugs on the rocker panels so we can spray it underneath there. Let's get started. Is that a plug yet? This went fine. There was really no issues with this. The plastic panels underneath, I did have a hard time getting them off. Those plastic little plug things did not want to come out, but I got most of them out. I don't need to get all of them. As long as I can get 3/4 of them out or half out, I can pull the panel down enough to spray inside. As long as I can get, you know, 8 inches or a foot, that's plenty of room. Be able to use the air gun and spray all the dirt out of there, and then spray the oil with the fogger. That really gets in there nice and good. Exhaust is all wiped off. Anything that had oil on it that's not supposed to is all cleaned off. Luckily, I was able to get inside the plugs for the rockers. They came out. One of these plugs, when I went to put it back in, it actually, the hole kind of collapsed around it because it was so rusty there. So I was able to get the plug to stay in, luckily, but they're definitely crusty. These rockers are definitely on their way out, but this oil will significantly slow it down. So, and made sure not to get, you know, too much on the plastics. Anything that doesn't need to be sprayed, I, you know, don't bother. Makes it easier for anyone else working on it later. But let's take this off the trailer, and I'm gonna go across the street and grab the truck. Give me a second. I love these fenders on these Chevy trucks because I can stick the gun right inside here, spray down, spray up, and it's all set. Even on the side with the battery and the air box here, I can stick my gun inside that hole, spray down, get all over there. I can go in here, spray up, spray down, and that'll get right in here. Ooh, we also want to let this guy know we got some mouse poop here, so we're gonna let him know that there is mice in this, but the products that I use have mouse out in them. NHOU only provides that. Let's get all these pumps turned on, get the generator turned on, and get started. Now I already sprayed the fenders up top, pointing down, and Chevy actually seals these, so really me spraying here isn't doing a whole lot. What's on the inside is what counts. I do it to all the fenders, so it's one of those things where I'm not gonna not do it for one, that way I don't forget for any of them, so, you know, it doesn't hurt. Everybody gets it. So there's actually 2 layers here. There's no way I'm gonna be able to really show you on camera, but there's an outer layer, which is like 1.5 inches thick in here, or 1.5 inches. And then there's another hole further in, which sprays the inner side of the rocker. So I make sure to, you know, spray both sides of that. That's only in some vehicles, not, I would say most vehicles don't have that, which is nice because it makes it easier for me. But as long as I know it's there, I will definitely spray it. Yeah. Did have a little bit of technical difficulty on the last half of this truck. The GoPro is not recording. I don't know what happened, if it overheated or whatever, but everything went fine on it. What I do know is that I am starving and I want to get out of here. I want to go home. So I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.